without further ado, I'll bring up Farrah Lane here. Let's give Farrah a round of applause. And she's been working on some cool stuff for you guys. I said you've been working on some really cool stuff for us.
Oh, have I? Actually, yes, I have. Yes, thank you. So like Rich said, I have been working on something. I'm kind of a planner, so I like to know what I'm talking about next week, and I want you guys to be able to know what we're talking about so you can plan to be here. So I am starting a series, but a lot of you, I see a lot of new faces in the crowd. So she's nodding. She's like, yep, I'm a new. Are you new? How many of you, it's your very first time here ever wow, we got a lot of new people. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for all the members that are bringing people and spreading the word, because this is a really cool club. I got involved in it. Well, I started back in like 2019, but I didn't really get like super involved with the club until I actually saw what Rich has been doing for the club. So if you guys like all this stuff that has been new and exciting, that's all Rich, you guys. So give Rich a round of applause. Yeah. He does not get enough recognition. People normally just think he's the sound guy. Yeah. But I mean, he's an investor himself, and I mean, I don't know how much he'll go into later, but he's a really interesting guy to talk to, and I'm going to just plug the podcast because I don't think you talked about that. Yeah. So how many of you actually did an episode with Rich on his podcast? Raise your hand. All right. Wow. Yeah, a lot of us. How many of you want to, but he looks really, really scary and you just don't? Yeah. Look, your own mother. Oh my gosh. Really, you know what? I encourage anyone that's new. You don't need to be an investor to be, I mean, you want to be interested in real estate, because the whole point of this club is financial independence through real estate. But it's a conversation with him. He's just a regular guy. I mean, he likes to think he's super cool, but a few of us thought it was funny. Yeah, you know. No, but it's a really casual, just regular conversation where he asks you questions. And if you want to look at any of the podcasts, I mean, he asks everyone pretty much the same question throughout. So, but it's nice to look back at your journey and see, wow, this is where I came from. So a friend of mine did an episode he was having his podcast, and I think it was a year into investing. And it's really cool to like look back at that and be like, man, I mean, I really thought I knew what I was talking about back then, but I had no idea. And then, in a couple of years, I'll look back at my other episode. Oh my gosh, Farrah, what were you thinking? But it's really cool to just see your progress throughout your investing career or little side ventures. So anyway, that's just a little plug for Rich's podcast. And if you know anyone that is maybe like a higher profile investor, like those bigger names, like if someone knows like Pace Morby, like personally, or I don't know, any of those type of people, say, hey, I know this really cool club and we would love to have you on the podcast. So anyway, just a little thing right there. But like this says right here, this is let me back up just a little bit. I was talking about Rich way too much, but myself. So I am Farrah Lane. I primarily invest in mobile home flips, but I also am a housing provider / landlord, if you didn't know what a housing provider was. And so Andrew and I, we got started. Yeah, that's him right there. That's my other half. Thank you for raising your hand. Not being shy tonight. Good job. I'm proud of you. So we got started by buying our primary home, and we had a back detached garage, and then which was already converted to a living quarters. It's non-conforming, so I can't call it an ADU quite yet. But the front house, I rented out each room individually, and then we lived in the back, and then that's how we provided like very low cost of living, and we were able to save more money doing that. So we did a whole episode, or I don't know, episode, a whole meeting on just house hacking. A lot of you were there, some of you weren't, but house hacking is a great way to get started in real estate. So that's how I got started. And then I still do it because the property I moved to, we have 2 houses on it. We live in one and rent the other. So I'm always about like at least 2 units on the property, and then that way I can maximize, and then you could get a low entry point at that 3.5%. Anyway, without further ado, now I'll go on to the series. So I wanted to kind of go over the rental property essentials because we kind of, I mean, Stephanie was here. She talked about short-term rentals. Wave, nice and high, Steph. That's your short-term rental girl. She knows everything short-term rentals. Brianna Williams, she was here talking about midterm rentals. Rich, myself, and a few other people, we talked about house hacking, long-term rentals. So, like, we've kind of delved into all that already. So this next one is just the essentials. Like, who here feels like they could buy, like, if they saw the deal that, yes, this is for me, you would buy it tomorrow or today? Caitlin, all right. A few other people. You're ready, so you're actively looking. So this, I really wanted to focus on getting ready for your next deal. So that's really what this club is about, is getting like, yeah, you know, we're friends. You know, we get to know each other and we build relationships, and it's cool because we all have that in common. But really what this club is for is building that financial independence through real estate, right? So that's why everything's FIREFOCUS, everything. I was going to list everything. I'm going to save it. But you guys get the gist. It's financial independence through real estate. And Rich is one of his biggest goals, which is in our mission, is like and our vision is spreading, you know, financial independence through real estate. And we want you guys to get that. I mean, some of us have achieved it already, and some of us are still working on it, and we're really, really close. I'm one of those. I'm really, really close. So it's just, but to get there is so hard. It's like, what path do you take? Like, everything, you can get shiny object syndrome or analysis paralysis. So that's what I wanted to start with, is just kind of give a general overview and kind of look that direction. And then, like I said, this series is going to be a 5-part series. So right now, we're just talking about, are you ready for that upcoming, there's going to be a lot of opportunities. So are you ready for those opportunities when they come your way? So am I not clicking? Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Oh, it's probably my slideshow is a little slow. It's not Google Slides, so it probably doesn't like it. So part 2, we're going to go over analyzing rental property markets. So that's one thing. I'm going to put Steph on blast again. Anytime I'm around her and people are asking her, like, how do I get into short-term rentals, or how do I get started? You know, I hear her say the same thing every single time, and correct me if I'm wrong, Steph, but it is picking your market. Picking your market. That's number one, because if you're looking at, you know, this rental market over here, maybe, you know, we'll just talk about long-term rentals right now, but long-term rentals, people are like, well, California doesn't pencil. Well, it might not. Like, it did for me because I'm getting 2 units, right? So, but maybe you look out of state, you know, and then if you're looking out of state, which state, you know, and then which city? Do you know people there? Do you have family there that could be your boots on the ground, give you referrals? Stephanie is always doing that. She's looking at markets. I was already going to use you as an example. You could ask Andrew. She just happened to be here tonight. But it's literally, you know, finding those boots on the ground, and she knows markets already where she has friends that are already investing there. So then they already have cleaners. Then they already have, you know, property she manages her own properties, but there's teams already in place over there. And that's like, if you're looking out of state, you know, which state, which areas, and do you like going there? Some people are like, ooh, Detroit, properties are cheap. Well, do you like going to Detroit? Anybody? I mean, maybe someone does. No one? Okay. I was just giving an example because this is Detroit. I'm sorry, Detroit. But So that's analyzing rental markets, and then we'll go into financing rental properties. So whether you're using private financing, traditional financing, what kind of products are out there. We'll really dive deep into managing rental properties. So we've already talked about that, but I really want to go deeper into the systems, and we're talking about leases and just all that type of stuff. And then lastly, we'll go into asset protection. So a lot of people are like, do I put a property in an LLC? And then someone says, no, put it in a trust. But then someone else is like, no, an LLC. And then what about my primary? Like, what do I do with that? So we'll look into that. We'll go over insurance and that type of stuff. So that's coming up over the next 4 months. That way you guys have an idea of what we're going over. So right now, this next part of my slide deck here is we're going over financial stability. So I feel like rentals, that's what they provide you, right? Because what happens when things are inflated? Rent also goes up, right? I mean, sometimes it levels out, but rent is consistently going up. I mean, I don't want to, anyone know what rent was like 20 years ago on average? Realtors, anybody? In 2000? $600 for a 2-bedroom. Okay, and now it's significantly higher. So in another 20 years, when your property is almost paid off, and your mortgage payment might be $2,000, but what's rent going to be then? So that's just providing some financial stability. So some other perks though that will. Okay, I just need a click before I want to switch, and then I think I'll be good. So some financial stability, that's what I kind of already touched on that, and it's giving you that independence. And how many people are still working a W-2 currently? W-2, you punch in a clock. Yeah, and some people don't want to raise their hands. It's okay. But But rentals, like I said, I'm really close, and I honestly, if I was still single and I didn't have bonus kids and a partner, I probably would be financially free already. Love you. Well, I would still be living at the house where we're living for free with my 2 cats. I would be fine. So did anyone read the whole 2 cats thing on the meetup post? Anybody? Yeah? Hey, because you have 2 cats too now. Hey, it was actually about me, but I knew you were going to think that. So you guys can go look at it later, and you can get the joke. And then also you're earning a consistent income stream. So every month you have renters in there, they're paying down your mortgage, and you're getting that cash flow. And then you're building long-term stability and independence. I won't read every single thing and bore you guys. And then you can diversify your income streams, right? So if you have a W-2 income, then you also have rental income coming in. Maybe you look at other, for me, I already told you, so I flip mobile homes and I sell them on seller financing. I also have a couple rentals. I have lent money where I get money every month from that loan. I always borrow money, so anyone lending, I borrow. but talking about income specifically. But I do a lot of different things with my money, and there's not just rentals, but because it is rental night, I wanted to focus on that. There we go. And then perks of rental properties. So we're going into wealth creation. So this is something that once you have these houses either paid off, or maybe they're not paid off and you just refi and get some cash out, you keep a low loan to value, then your generations after you, or like for me, like my bonus kids, my nieces, and my youngest sister, they're going to inherit my rental portfolio, or at least my half, because he gets the other half. So, all right. Oh, man. I crack myself up sometimes. Sorry. It's like my insight, I think I'm funny. That's all that matters to me. I mean, right? You don't laugh at my jokes, so I guess someone's got to laugh. Property appreciation. So, again, 20 years ago, there's no way that the property you bought 20 years ago is going to be worth less. So in 20 years, I know the market is up and down, But even in 2008, those prices we've like gone way over that. So we've bounced back and some. I was going to go into something else, but then I'll get on a rabbit trail, so we won't go on that. But anyway, so you have appreciation, which later you could either refi or sell and make a profit. So actually, I bought a condo when I lived in Colorado in 2014 for $165,000. And 2 years later, I waited that whole 2 years so I didn't have to pay those taxes. I actually netted $80,000 after all realtor fees and everything when I sold it, which then I reinvested in a whole bunch of different things. So, all right. And then rental income. So we already touched on that, but then you're getting that rental income every month. So at some point, when all those houses are paid off and you're just getting rental income, you don't need to worry about like your retirement. I mean, you want to look at your retirement account, but you're not, your W-2 retirement account, like there's a lot of those older people that they're at, the door at Walmart, or they still have to supplement their income because Social Security isn't enough. So that's something that you can create that wealth for yourself. Oh, that rhymed. Again, my own little, all right, so tax benefits. So I will go into tax benefits a lot more in my next series. So that series will go into a whole bunch of other stuff. I didn't touch on that yet, but I'm just touching on this. So I know a lot of you are going to have questions, but like I said, we're going to go through this more in depth on the next series because it is a very dense topic. So we have your property expense deductions. So your expenses from repairs and all that type of stuff, that is deductible. You need to talk to a CPA, but definitely could write those things off. You have your mortgage interest deductions. So when you get that statement in from your mortgage company, you can write off that interest. And then you have your depreciation. So again, talk to a CPA because I still don't fully understand how that works. So hopefully by the end of the next series, I will, because I'll have to investigate more. All right, and then 1031 exchanges. How many of you have heard Goodwin touch on 1031 exchanges during exchangers? Yes. Yes. So you fully understand it? Any one of you can come up and explain it right now? Maybe you, Alfred. Maybe you. But we're just barely touching on it. 1031 exchanges, like, again, I would like Goodwin or Andy to actually do a whole class on that. I'm trying to poke them for their creative finance, but if not, then I'll get them to come in during my next series. But it's basically deferring your taxes when you sell a property. So it's really a rental property, because if it's your primary property, then I'm a little distracted because someone's phone's going off. I'm sorry. Louie, is it a good song at least? No? Okay. But when it's your property and you've lived in it for 2 out of the last 5 years, then you could sell it and not have to pay the capital gains tax. But with 1031, so like right now, in the last 5 years, I have lived in my rental property, but say, and how long has it been since we haven't lived there? A year and a half? So like at 3.5 years, and say I want to sell it in 10 years. I haven't lived there in the last 2 out of 5 years. So then if I did sell it, I would want to use a 1031 exchange and exchange it for a like property. So that's the gist of what a 1031 exchange is. And then there's certain criteria, though. You have to identify a property by a certain point. I think it's 6 months. 45 days, do you remember? 45 days? I don't know why. 45 days to identify. That's the 6 months. And 180 days to sell it. Okay, thank you. See, I still don't know yet. It's a big topic that I really want them to go more, Goodwin and Andy go into. And then there's limitations on that and different strategies. And again, you definitely want to talk to a CPA about that. Or I think there's 1031 exchange like specialist people. Yeah. Yeah. It's a little box that you check when you're selling. That you just check a box. So are they, then you're like, is there, I mean, there's, yeah, then, I mean, if you get tax fraud, I mean, do you really want to, I mean, I think what they'll say is you owe this much in taxes and you have to pay it, is probably what would happen. They like to say you'll go to jail, but if you could pay the fine, then you won't go to jail. So I'm not going to say it. If you want, I'm not going to say anything right now. I'm on camera. This will go live. Okay, we're going to skip that. So tax planning strategies. So recently I hired a CFO, a fractional CFO. So I'm not paying like the overhead costs of having a full-time CFO. But then through that, I also got a CPA that actually focuses on tax planning like strategies. So I highly recommend that. If you're like looking at doing this like full-time and like as a career, which is what I'm doing, I think I finally, the last like 5 years or 4.5 years, I was kind of at the point where I was, I guess, I always joke about this and I just blanked on the word. I was not really amateur. I always talk about amateur hour. So I was like more amateur hour real estate investor, but now I'm looking at it as like a very like, okay, this is what I want to do for a business and I'm building a business. So that's what I'm doing. So it's just, don't let that stop you from getting started. Because I've been doing this for 4.5 years, right? And I'm barely doing this right now. I know a lot of other people that are also doing similar things. They're reevaluating their portfolios. They're talking with other people that are smarter than them, which is always a good thing. And you get those ducks in a row. So again, about do you put your property in an LLC, or what do you, is it, when do you use an S corp, when are you using a title or a trust and stuff like that. So that's definitely something to look at in the future. And then capitalizing on opportunity zones. So, I mean, I believe they're still letting us use that for, I think it's at least the next 5 years. I can't remember what year it was that they said that they would extend it. But using those things that the government is actually providing to us for more tax advantages, right? And also, again, I can't harp on this enough because I am not a tax professional, but consulting an actual tax professional and saying, hey, these are my goals. This is what I want to do. You can offset your W-2 income if you do blank, right? So you could talk to them and kind of plan that out. Wow, this is a long delay. All right, so selecting a target market. So again, this is something that a lot of people get stuck because they're like, I don't know, mobile homes sound really fun. Like Andy does them, Farrah does them, and all these other people. Miguel does them. Who else has mobile homes in here? Like a lot of us. Alfred, yep. Yeah, there's a lot of us that do them. So you're like, oh, mobile homes. But then you hear Stephanie come up and speak, and you're like, short-term rentals. And then you hear someone else come up and speak. You're like, oh, no, I want a house hack. So it's just what works for you, and focus on that one thing and just say, this is what I'm dedicating my time to, and I want to focus on getting this, and really plan that out. I'm so sorry. And that's too small for me to read in the back. So it's also like, so Pete Fortunato, he talks a lot about his single family homes, right? And how he wants a good family in a good neighborhood near the good schools. So he's targeting that demographic. He's saying, I want this neighborhood. I want this type of family to live in my houses. So it's, what do you see your future looking like? And maybe you don't start there. Maybe you start, a step below, because that's what you can, the market you can get into, but you could see yourself getting that direction or going in that direction. And then when you're marketing, so then you're like, okay, this is the area I want. So if you're door knocking or driving for dollars, those are the houses that you're knocking, and those are the houses you're driving around those neighborhoods. Because there's a member in the club. I don't know if he wants me to say his name or not, so I won't right now. But he had properties spread all over the place, and now he's focusing on just getting all his properties in a smaller, like 20-mile radius, right? So, like, where do you want your portfolio to be, and kind of like focus on that area is what I'm getting at. I'm never using this slide set again. So yeah, focusing on a specific market, and then you know those people's demands. Like, what do they want? Do they need all the upgraded, countertops and cabinets, or is it okay just cleaning it up and adding paint and leaving the carpet or cleaning the carpet? Like, you can kind of understand the area. So if you go to like San Bernardino and downtown San Bernardino, then someone knew what word I probably wanted to use, but you said it. Yes. So are you going to put in granite countertops and do all this fancy stuff to it? Probably not. But if you're in Rancho up in like Etowanda and like a $1 million house and you're renting that out, you might want to go the extra mile and put in all those upgraded fixtures and stuff. All right, so a lot of us kind of have an idea of what we want to do, but who wants to buy single family homes? Who's wanting, like, I definitely want single family homes. I don't want mobile homes. I don't want apartments. I don't want multifamily. Yeah, okay. So a lot of us want those single family homes, and a huge part of me, I like single family homes too, because I listen to people like John Schaub and Pete Fortunato, and that's what they talk about. They're talking about putting good families in good homes, right? So some of the benefits to that is it is an easier entry into the real estate market, because you can buy it as your primary home, live in it for 1 year, only put that 3.5% down, and then move to another house, and now you can rent it. Right? So you don't have to put as much into it. Lower vacancy is if you get the right family. I mean, some of these old timers, they have tenants in there for 15, 20, 30 years, and they stay there. And if they move, someone in their family moves in. So if you find the right tenant, they won't leave you. So like currently my tenant that lives on my property, he always makes comments like, oh, I did this to the house. I fixed this. I added, he's a woodworker and has done some amazing things to my property. But he always says, when I move, you can keep it. When I move, I'm like, why do you say when you move? I'm like, and he's like, well, I'll probably stay here forever. I'm like, that's more like it. I want that. You're going to stay here forever, right? So, and then single family homes they do attract a wider pool of tenants, right? So let's go. Oh, wow. Okay, sorry. Okay, I don't know too much about apartment buildings. If anyone knows, anyone in here know a lot about apartments? Darn it, I was hoping to interview you. It's okay. But a cool thing about apartment buildings, they do have property management in place, so you actually don't have to manage it. They have a manager there that does everything, and you just get your money. So that's pretty cool. You could do that with a single-family home too. They're easy to manage for me, so I don't mind managing my own. And then it's also stable cash flow. You can diversify your risk, and there's a lot of appreciation potential, especially if you buy something and then do some value add to it. I swear I'm clicking it 5 seconds before I want to. It's still doing that. All right. And then vacation rentals. Stephanie. So this one's really cool because you have a potential for high income potential. You can actually use it for you personally. So I'm keeping using Stephanie because she's in the room and we're good friends and we've had conversations. But she likes investing in areas that she likes to vacation. I wonder why, right? So that way, when she goes to that area, she can just block out those dates and then she gets to stay there. She also gets to check on her properties and do some maintenance. And, I think that's a tax write-off. So not only is it a vacation, you also get a tax write-off. And then you're attracting a higher quality tenant. And I don't want to call them tenants, guests. Thank you. She was going to correct me anyway in a second. So you're attracting those higher quality guests. Do you guys have a question? Okay. Yeah, it is. That's it. I really, really want a short-term rental. I actually saw a listing that Stephanie sent out today from Sugarloaf that looked really, really cute, already decorated, like ready to go. I'm like, really nice price point too. So commercial, I don't know a lot about commercial, but I'm just showing you that there are multiple areas where you can invest in real estate, right? There is a guy here that he does have a commercial property, and I forget how many square feet. And I mean, now I know a little bit more about commercial because, we're renting our space. So it's a pretty cool industrial park here. And there's a lot of value add potential as well. So if you buy something and you're able to fix it up and then rent it out. I would love to do like one of those rework like places. But because there's nothing in Riverside. I think the closest one is like Marietta or Temecula or LA, Orange County. So I thought that would be pretty cool. So financial readiness. I know I asked you earlier, who's ready to buy, but who feels like at least financially ready? Is there any more hands than earlier? Financially ready? Besides just, yeah? Okay. So that's part of it. Is like, if we're here, we want to invest in real estate, but how do we do it? Like the how of it. That's what we really want to do at this club, and that's why I was like, this is like a perfect intro to my series because I really want you guys to get motivated and excited and like have a plan, right? Like, how am I going to get that rental property? How am I going to do that? So one thing you would want to do is, I clicked it like 3 times already, calculating your budget, right? So how many of you have a really strict budget where you know every single penny where it goes? Good job. Yes. I used to. And then I got in a relationship. You remember, I knew everything. I'm like, I have this much to spend on whatever I want. So there's a lot of things you can go through and like, cut things out and like, you're like, I'm paying for that every month. Now, your membership at this club is very important, so don't go canceling that. I'm telling you. Plus the membership will go up here soon, I think January 1st. So you guys are grandfathered in at the $35. So don't go canceling it. So that's your budget is huge. You definitely want to. Rich is already laughing at me. I'm like, right when I said that, I was like, oh crap. And honestly, if you come to every single meeting, I was talking to Shirley. Oh, Shirley's right here. She's like, wow, your guys' club. I cannot believe. I should just let you say it, but she could not believe like how much we do, and because any other real estate club, they're doing one meeting a month, and they don't have like exchangers, and then a Tuesday lunch, then we have Saturday coffee, and they don't. Yeah, it's just we do a lot here at the club. So, and we want to see our financial success. So, we are very dedicated to that. So, financing options. So, there's private lending. So, because I don't want to say the B word. Everyone knows the B word, bank. Yeah. So some people don't like banks. They're like, don't borrow from a bank. But some people, you can borrow from a bank. You like at any point. Okay, my brother-in-law, Andrew's brother, him and his fiance want to buy a house, and they're like, oh, we want to buy a house. but we don't know what to do. First thing, just get pre-qualified. Go down to, there's plenty of people at the club that do loans. Steve Lazarson is one of our sponsors, so you can give him a call. And there's plenty of other members here that do mortgage loan originating, so you can talk to them as well. But at least see what you can get qualified for. Maybe that will help you with your target market, right? So I think, Stephanie, was that property 199 or 299? Sugarloaf. She doesn't remember. Okay, I thought it was 199. I was like, dang, that's not bad. 299, okay. But still, under 300,000, already decorated, furnished, everything, ready to go, short-term rental. And, oh yeah, I forgot about that. That kind of sold me. So there's DSCR loans, which those loans, if no one's heard of it, those loans actually, the property qualifies for the loan. So if the property can make $3,000 a month, and it makes sense for them to loan you the money because it's only going to cost $2,000 a month to service the loan, and you have $1,000 a month in cash flow, like they'll loan you the money. And I think some of them are, if it's I believe if it's, yeah, bless you. I was waiting for the last one. I always wait for the last one. Andrew sneezes like 10 times in a row. So are you done yet? Bless you. That wasn't funny? You didn't like that one? I'm sorry, babe. Okay, it's only like 3 times. I was just exaggerating. Okay. So he had a look on his face. I'm like, sorry, I just called him out like that. But yeah, there's a lot of different financing options. So he'll do something later. But so at least get pre-qualified. It doesn't cost you anything. You can even tell the lender that, hey, I'm shopping right now. I'm shopping for loans. I just want to get an idea of what I can get qualified for. So you're not being held to anything at all. And I'm very upfront with them. Like, I'm shopping around, so I don't just go to one lender. I went to like 3 or 4 lenders before I said, okay, I want this one. So, because they had like different rates and et cetera, et cetera. And then managing cash flow, I kind of touched on that already about your debt service compared to what you can rent it for. That way you know what you can buy. All right, setting goals without losing your mind. So I'm kind of building up to Rich's part of the presentation. He's going to go over a lot of this, but this is, defining your vision. So I'm part of a mastermind group. There's 10 units. So a unit is like me and Andrew. So my spouse, or if I had a business partner, I could bring my business partner, or I could go by myself. But it's more fun to go with my spouse. So, but it's a mastermind. We talk about real estate and our goals and our challenges and work through it. But really, it's all about our vision. Like, what do we want our future to look like? And then saying, okay, I want to get there, but what steps do I need to take to get there? Like, what am I aiming for? So if you don't know what you're aiming for, you're going to be all over the place. You're like, I think I want to go there, but then I want to go there, and then at the end of like 5 or 10 years, well, for me, 5 years, you're like, what am I doing? What do I really want? And you're, reevaluating that. So defining your vision is a really big part in investing. And then creating that action plan. What steps are you going to take to get there? And then managing challenges. So there are challenges along the way. I've cried a lot. Let's see. Was it? Oh my gosh, that was only last year. So 2022 in February, I started my refi out of a hard money loan because it was my primary residence, and the rates were changing. But like I said, I shopped a few different lenders, and I was like, "Ooh, I really like this product. It's an 80% loan to value, cash out refi at like a 6.5%, which was a little high at the time, right? Early 2022. But I am self-employed, and so that was a factor. And then also is a cash out refi, so it's a little bit higher, but now a 6.5 sounds really good because I ended up with a 7.8. So how that happened, as the rates were changing, they had me jumping through all these different hoops and then just dropped me mid-June. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what am I gonna do? My hard money loan is due in September, and I just like was freaking out. And then we didn't refi till November. So make sure you have a really good lender that you have open communication with. You keep them in the loop, and luckily I didn't get charged any extra fees for that. So, but that was a big challenge I had just last year, and not being afraid to ask for help. So there's been so many times that I was embarrassed to come to the club, and because I'm like, everyone feels like I should know everything, and I don't have any questions myself, and I shouldn't have any problems. But that's exactly what this club is here for. We're here to help you. Like if you don't feel comfortable talking to someone, find one person that, just come talk to me. And then if I don't know, I'll go find somebody that has the answer. So it's everyone here, if you haven't figured out already, is very open and welcoming, and they genuinely want to help you. So, but I do want to challenge everyone in here, speaking of challenges, to get to know people, find out what they want or what they need. So there's 3 things. It's kind of like this, I think Pete talked about it too, but there's a whole different, everyone talks about it a little bit different, but there's 3 things. There's people that have time, people that have experience, and people that have money, right? So maybe you have money, but I don't know how I'm going to fit investing into this. I have no idea what to do, right? And then you have people with experience. Like, I have experience, but I don't have a lot of time. I have 5 mobile homes right now. Like, 2 of them I have going and 3 I have in escrow. I don't have a lot of time right now. So I partnered up with Christy, a member of this club, and she's actually driving up to Rosemont, is up near Lancaster. She's doing the driving for me. So I'm working with her, and then I'm going to give her a part of the profit for helping me because I don't have that time. So I'm having her help me out to go do that for me because I have too much going on. I mean, Lee knows. I mean, we've been trying to connect with the solar for a while, and I just can't even manage to sit down and look at it and just decide. So I need to free up my time. So I don't have time, but I have experience. I don't have a lot of money. And then you have people at time that have no money and no experience, which I don't want to say no money. So there you go. There's my girl right there. Yeah. So those people, you want to be okay, well, I don't have time. I don't have money, but I have experience. So who has time, who has money? And find those people. But find those people within this network and start doing deals together, because that's what we really want. So we have if you look over to the left over there, there's some Polaroid pictures up on the wall. Those are not every single deal from the clubhouse that we've done together, but those are some of them. And we want to make this whole wall full of those pictures of members that are doing deals together, because that's what this club is about. We are a community of helping each other. Okay? And I think that brings me to my last one. So Rich is going to talk about this. I will wait for him to... Oh, I thought you were mentioning on something. I was like, I'll draw this out a little bit. But the Fire Goals Workshop is just what I've been talking about. I'll let him talk about that. But tonight is the last night for that $100 discount. If you are a member, then your price is $197. That's just tonight. And if you're not a member yet and you want to be, you could become a member and still get that $100 off. So become a member tonight, because that is the last night for the discount. But this is literally, I'm really, really excited. I asked Rich, I'm like, am I working it? Because if I'm working, I really want to go, but I need to know, do I need to buy my ticket? I really want to do this. And who saw Mark Pantek in person at the clubhouse? How many of you? Yeah? Okay, he is a very, very smart guy. I believe he was a Tony Robbins coach. Is that right? Yeah. And he's really well spoken. I just really like how he puts things and gets you to think. And he actually challenged me one time. He's like, I want you to raise $1 million by Monday. And I'm like, what? I don't even have anything to buy for $1 million, let alone raise $1 million. But he just challenged me to think different. He's like, just talk to people, have a conversation. And guess what? Just by talking to people, I found $1 million by that Monday. I found it. I mean, no one lent it to me, but talking to people, saying, hey, Shirley, what are you looking for? And just having that conversation with someone, finding out what they need, what they want. So finding those people, like I said, I don't have time and I don't have money, but I'm looking for those people that have the money. And as I was talking to people, like someone's like, yeah, I would lend you $100,000 if you found the right project. I just had to find 10 of those people. But then one person was like, I have 300,000. So it's just having those conversations. But anyway, that was just my little tidbit about Mark, how he helped me get outside of my head. And then Rich, like I said, he knows a lot. He's not just the sound guy. He knows a lot about real estate. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and welcome Rich again up to the stage.
Thanks. Yes, that'd be good. Thank you. All right. Want me to do it? You good? Oh, I got to stall now. All right, let's give Farrah a round of applause. Go ahead and refresh it for me, too. I just added something. So who knows the person you're sitting next to? Okay, a lot of hands. Who does not know the person you're sitting next to? All right, introduce yourselves. Oh, you're used to the exchanger's mouse. All right, if you're in seat 1, move to this side. If you're, no, just kidding.
Okay, I swear, it's the one with the
No, it's the one with the plastic, yeah. Did you turn it on?
Yes.
No, you didn't. It's off.
I just turned it off because I didn't want to leave it. Oh, okay, there we go. Here. Oh. Hopefully I queued it up.
Yeah, hit play when it comes up.
Okay.
All right. So give me yeah, I know, right? You can yell at me now. Farrah's like yelling at me. She's like, stand in the middle. That's what I tell people all the time. There's actually marks down on here, so when you see Goodwin standing off to here, just go ahead and everybody yell at him next time to go stand in the middle. So, all right, well, that thing's coming up. Who learned something new from Farrah that they would like to share? Caitlin. Let's hear it. What was the tidbit? Go ahead, Gretchen. Mark Pantek. Yep. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, Mark was, I think, my second or third one. So Mark's a great guy. If you haven't, he's on the podcast. You can check him out. He's, I don't think he has a ton of content online, but he's on the podcast. He's going to be recording some videos here coming up here. What's up, Miguel? How about you? Give me a tidbit from Farrah. Yeah.
Let it out on the side of the highway and just get back in the car and keep going. So the fact that she was really vulnerable and told us that I would cry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, hey, it will happen. Things are not.
That was tough. She got through that like a champion, because I remember last year that was in the old clubhouse, and there was some rah you can do this moments. So, Miguel, was that on the way to the library or the strip club? Right? There is a strip club called the Library. If you don't get that joke, Miguel posted it on his Facebook, just so people are like, what the hell did I walk into? That he had to do 2 notary signings because Miguel's an awesome notary. One was at a strip club, and then the next one was at what? At a hospital. That's what it was. So he had an interesting day. So right on. Well, my name's Rich Rice. Happy Halloween, everybody. Belated. We carved our pumpkins last night, and we live up in the mountains, and we tend we're always so busy, so we carve our pumpkins like Halloween, like literally it's dark, and we're like carving our pumpkins, rushing to put them outside, and we realized this year that we live in the mountains, and literally nobody trick or treats or walks down our street. So I'm like, why don't we just put them inside? So we put them on our mantle like Christmas instead of this year. So it looked pretty cool. So when I was making this, I was like, oh, it kind of looks like a jack-o'-lantern. So it made me think of it. But let's see. I am going to go into the Fire Goals workshop that me and Mark are talking about here in a few weeks. And I'll go to that more at the end. Let's see. My background, I don't know if this is updated, but my background, I grew up in Anaheim. Aside from running the club, I also invest in real estate quite a bit. I'm mostly a long-term rental guy. I was a short-term rental guy for a little while, but I found out it wasn't for me. So sticking to long-term rentals, I have been house flipping and wholesaling since 2017. Somewhere over 100 deals completed, either notes or mobile homes or flipping or whatever. And I've been a housing provider since 2020. And I'm at like nine doors right now. I'm in escrow for another one, and I'm working on another one. And at some point, I will convert my primary into a triplex. So got 3 or 4 in the works at the moment. And a little professional history. I started off as, I actually started off in my dad's cabinet shop when I was like 13. That was really beneficial because I still know how to sand and stain cabinets, and lo and behold, I started flipping houses. And that doesn't mean that I'm really good at staining cabinets because I don't stain anything anymore, but I could tell people when they're doing it wrong now. So there's that. I did outside sales. I worked for James Hardy for like 7 years. The people who make Hardybacker, anybody familiar? Hardybacker, Wonderboard, that kind of stuff. At the end of that 7 years, I had a disagreement with some new people that had come into the company from, I think, Honeywell. And I decided that these Honeywell guys didn't know shit about fiber cement. And I popped off to them too much more than I should have, and they fired me. So, and at the time, I was pretty upset about it. I planned on working for that company for quite a bit longer. I decided to take over a year off, and that was when I read Robert Kiyosaki for the first time. And that was my first stint at trying to be financially independent. I started reading all these books about what to invest in and buying gold. I tried buying gold. I tried doing drop shipping. I tried doing stuff on eBay. What else did I do? I tried gardening, aquaponics, if you guys are familiar. Not hydroponics growing weed. I really was trying to grow tomatoes, but I was like trying to scale it up into this. And now it's funny because that industry has actually massively grown since I was doing that like 10 years ago. But that's neither here nor there. So that was my first try. I couldn't figure it out. I went back to work with like no money. I moved back to Arizona and became a software engineering recruiter. I did that for about 3 or 4 years, and then I did really well at it at first, and then that kind of same thing just kept going, that I really did not want to go into work at 7 in the morning and make a bunch of people a bunch of money and be told that it was never enough at my place of employment, because it didn't matter that I made them $1 million yesterday. They wanted $1 million tomorrow. So at the end of that, I got fired again. So that one wasn't so much, talking back. That was just, I was kind of done. At that point, I had started talking to my mom, and Evan, those of you know Evan, wanted to, basically, they had been doing real estate for a little while. They wanted to start flipping full-time and build a flipping business. So I moved back to California and went into real estate that way. And I didn't actually buy my first property until 2020. That's when I bought my original duplex. I house hacked it, and I lived in the basement of my brand new house. I lived in the basement that was 500 square feet, and I rented out the 1,400 square feet unit above me, and they paid for everything. Okay, so they paid all the expenses. I lived in the basement for free. I saved up, bought a triplex a year later, refinanced that, bought another house, which I Airbnb'd a year after that, and then another one 3 months later. So the point in telling you that is that this all stacks very quickly. And that was only a year ago. I've bought 3 houses since then. So it stacks quickly. So you just got to know like where you're going to get started, and I'll go into that more in a little bit here. So those are some of the rentals. Most of them are just long-term, the ones that have furniture in it at the moment. This one and that one right there, and that one right there was my Airbnb. I shut that down about 6 months ago, and I've never been happier. So we'll go into that a little bit. The rest of them are my long-term, and that's the midterm that we're trying out right now in one of our units. The one we live in, our primary, that's the lower unit that we took all the stuff out of the Airbnb and turned it into a midterm rental. Results are mixed at the moment, so we'll go into that too. But at least we had a spot to store all the furniture that we tore out of the Airbnb. So we could pay $1,900 a month in rent that we're not getting to save $300 on a storage unit. So, but really, it's coming down to be perfectly honest, I like living in our house, and we could turn up the sound system and everything like that, not living with our tenants. So I think we keep coming up with reasons to not rent that unit out more than there's reasons why. So anyways, that's some of the rentals, and you can tell they're all up in the mountains. Yes, sir?
What if you were to rent out your upstairs for like a storage unit?
Like the primary unit?
The unit that is not being rented because you like to blare your stereo. What if you rented that out as a storage unit, not for someone to live, but for them to store their
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I like that. You want to rent it? You need some solar panels you need to store? You throw a system on the roof, we'll make a deal. So, and I do have 2 garages on that property too that I was going to rent out, but then magically I found more and more stuff to put in the garages. And it's weird. I lived in a 500 square foot unit before that house. That house is 2,800 square feet, and it's full of stuff with 2 garages, and I have no idea where any of it came from. If I really thought about it, I kind of do, but we're not going to go there. Okay, moving on. Farrah mentioned the podcast. If you do want to come on the show with me, you can scan that link. You can go to firechatpodcast.com and register yourself to be on there. There's like a link to my calendar, and we'll just have a chat for an hour about your goals and what you're looking for, and maybe your journey so far. 1, to hold you accountable to where you're going, and 2, to look back on, like Farrah said. So I'd love to have you on. We're on our 22nd episode now, and I plan on doing a few hundred, so get on there, okay? Before I get to the goals part, which is part of this conversation, who was here for the FHA flip? 2 people. There was got to be more than that. 3 people. Okay. For those of you that remember, I'll do a quick recap since there's a lot of people that weren't in here. I talked about something during that presentation, and it was don't go exploring, okay? Just don't go exploring. So if you're in a flip, you do not want to find out what's behind that wall, okay? So as much as you can, and granted there's exceptions, this is one of them, but I'm going to show you why here in a second. As much as you can, try and avoid having to open up a wall when you're flipping, okay? If you don't know what's behind that wall, you don't have to disclose it later when you go to sell the house, okay? But if you open up that wall and find out that there's scary stuff and you just put that panel back up, now you're in trouble to not disclose it later, okay? So don't go exploring, okay? Unfortunately, I had to go exploring today. It was an expensive day for me, and you'll see why. So this is a flip up in the mountains. You can see that there's a pile of plywood here leaning up against that wall. So I knew that was a problem, that pile of wood was completely rotted and falling apart. And I knew leaning up against that wall for probably 20 years in the shape of the plywood that had been there a long friggin' time. But somehow, when we walked in with my contractor, and I said, dude, you're gonna need to do some siding here, make sure you have it in there. He didn't have it in there. Shocking. So and then they moved all the plywood. Okay, and now you can see that it's painted, right? So, no, that's finished. That's finished paint. Actually, that is primer, sorry. Next picture shows that it's painted. So now that's what it looks like now. Now at this point, you can stick your hand through the siding. There's not really any way to not go exploring. This is the part now, for those of you wannabe flippers out there, if you got to this point and there wasn't holes, those are holes right here, that dark spot right there and right there, and this stuff's literally tissue paper. I mean, you can go stick your finger through it. Okay, so you can't hide that, okay? You can't just cover that up. Unfortunately, you can't just paint it. I would have loved to just put siding right over that thing, but it would have looked stupid because we ripped down that deck. Instead of replacing that deck for $1,000, I decided not to do that, and now I lost that option of, of putting the siding over it. So, who wants to take a guess on what's behind there? Anybody? It rhymes with a superhero. Well, it turns out there was quite a bit. So we went exploring today. I'm going to zoom in. So that's when it first came off. And at first part, you see the insulation coming out of there. It looks bad. It doesn't look that bad, but it's fixable. And then we start going a little bit deeper, and a little bit deeper. And that is that part right there. Okay, and the beam up here looks exactly the same way. So, today turned into a $2,000 day real quickly. That is why you don't go exploring, okay? Unless you absolutely have to. This was a situation where I had to, but if there's just a little bit of siding that you can fix another way without tearing the entire thing off, try and do it as much as possible. So I just wanted to follow up real quick from that discussion a few months ago. So what are you going to do if you run into something like this? Are you going to go exploring? No. All right, good answer. Yes?
So, okay, the plywood's up there, you know it's jacked, you put your finger in it. I would love to bond it, but imagine you don't later on, and you sell it, you flip it. Isn't that a liability issue coming up later on?
If you bond it, like you're saying, let's go back a little bit. If I just bonded over all that, I honestly don't think we could have, because that stuff was so brittle at that point. Like, I mean, it was so gone. I mean, that it was, you didn't even need a putty knife. You literally could take your finger and push right through the, yeah, on that, yeah. Like if it was bowing a little bit, or if it was the corner, there's along this other side. Let me see if I can get there. Along that other side, that far side, what? Sorry.
Is it dry rot, mold rot, termite?
It's discoloration. Yeah, Ant-Man. Oh yeah, sorry. I didn't get to that point. Yeah, so we found out, after we pulled it all out, there was an ant nest growing in that window, and they had a panel on that window on the inside, like as a curtain. And when I pulled that panel off, literally all the dirt fell in, and I didn't know it at that time yet. We hadn't taken the siding off, but I was like, oh, that's probably going to be a problem. And so that's mostly ants. That's mostly carpenter ants. That's not termite. So if you see a lot of ants around your property, they can do just as much damage, if not more, than termite. And it was basically ended up being it was basically like $900 to replace these two beams right here, and about $500 to replace this header across here that's completely gone. And by gone, I'm not talking like questionable. I'm talking like you literally could just take your pinky and poke through a 4x4 post that was just completely gone. I didn't go exploring that far. No, I'm just kidding. My guys wanted to. They called me earlier today, and they were like, well, we kind of want to do this. I was like, no, stop. Just stop. I don't want to know. But it's a bathroom on the other side. Inside the house, it's a bathroom. Yes. What?
Why wouldn't you want to repair that?
I am.
I know you are.
Yeah.
But you're almost sorry you did.
I'm not sorry that we did it, like on something like this. So just so you know, I'm planning on keeping this house. So on some of this stuff, I do go exploring if it's going to be a rental, because I want to know. While all my guys are there and we're redoing siding anyways, because we had to redo the siding, and we can run into stuff like this, yeah. But even then, there's a point that I want to stop. I don't want to keep going, because a lot of times you'll run into especially with contractors, and this is why contractors really aren't that great at flipping a lot of the times, is because they don't understand they understand that you're under a budget. And if you do enough of these houses and you chase down every single problem and fix it all the way back to the very beginning, you will never make any money. So, and the contractors don't understand that. They're just, I gotta fix this. I gotta fix this. Like, instead of, if you got one drain that's an issue and the rest is cast iron throughout the house, well, like, they'll want to fix that drain and then to keep going and replumb the entire house because it's got to do it. They have this like, got to do it mentality. And I'm, so I fix as far as I can and as far as I can see, okay? And I don't go find other things to fix. But if I see it, yes, we fix it. So this is a perfect example of, like, once I see it, I fix it. My goal is hopefully not see it. Is the line gray? Maybe. But I don't. But if you explore enough, and this house was built in 1920, trust me, if I wanted to go find stuff, I could find a lot more to do. And then I will put $200,000 in this house instead of $100. Okay? Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah, and that's been a struggle recently. I wasn't going to go into this, but that's a good question. He said it depends if you're going to keep it or if you're going to flip it. And it's been a struggle now because, people used to ask me, what do you do in real estate? And I used to tell them I'm a flipper. And I can't really say that anymore. I have more rentals now than I'm flipping during the year. So, and a lot of these times I'm buying the houses and then flipping them kind of like with one foot into flip and then 1 foot into, like, I want to keep it. But I don't know yet because I don't know how the numbers are going to shake down on the rehab and what I'm going to find. And also, I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to be able to, refi out of it because the rates are, they keep going up. So, so I'm kind of like tiptoeing around this. I might sell it, so I don't want to go too much, but I want to hang on to it, so I might, so especially with like floor coverings and fixtures and stuff like that. So it is getting a little difficult so I'm like kind of just trying to do what I can, Yeah.
So I don't know how you bought the property, but did you manage your risk when you sold out?
Did I manage the risk?
Yeah, when you were looking into it as a potential.
I always have an extra and an oh shit part of the equation. That was not figured in there. So I'll be a little bit over on that, but it's not going to kill the project. But that was $2,000 I would really rather put somewhere else. Especially like the cement. I just got a cement quote for $3,300. Actually, I just got back $1,700 from my contractor because I took something else out. He got it back real quick. He loves exploring. Yeah, he gets his pry bar out. He's like, I'm like, stop it. So, okay. All right. Any other questions about termite? Yes.
So when you're looking to buy a property that's around 1920, is there any specific items that you're looking at versus that property that's like not having?
I'll give you the quick answer. I typically start from foundation and roof, and then I work my way in. Okay. On the older houses, I pretty much immediately go to the foundation because I know the roof's going to be shot. If they're calling me, the roof's shot. Okay. The foundation, though, most of these things that are houses that are this old are not on great foundations. This one was. Somebody spent some money. This is why I want to keep it. So somebody spent some money pouring a slab downstairs, putting the entire perimeter of the house on blocks, pouring a nice like retaining wall in the middle of the build out, semi-finishing the basement. So somebody did that at some point in the last 20, 30 years. It definitely wasn't built like that. But if they're super, super old like that, a lot of the times we've ran into houses that are literally sitting on logs. Like they chopped the tree down, they cut the branches off, and it laid on the floor, and they built the house on top of it. Or they stuck the tree right into the ground. They didn't even cut the tree down. Well, they cut it down and then used the tree and strapped to the tree. So, because there was no building codes in 1913, you know. So, and I mean, it's still there, you know. But so, what are we pointing at? Were you pointing? Oh, look like you were pointing. Oh, I was like, who's there? Is somebody at the door? Yeah. So foundation, especially in the mountains. That's going to be your biggest tell. And a lot of the times, some of them are really nice, and then some of them are really bad. The foundation doesn't really scare me anymore, because I know what like the worst scenario it could be, but it'll eat a lot in the budget. So, okay. Last call for questions about flipping. That is up in Crestline, up in the mountains near Lake Arrowhead. So, okay, all right. Enough of the termites. Well, ants. One more view. That's 3 2x4, 2x6s thick. Actually 4 2x6s thick, and it's gone. They ate right through the middle of them. And they even left me some insulation though, so that was nice of them. Okay, so moving forward. Like Farrah said when we were talking about this, so back up a little bit to the club and why we talk about fire so much, and Farrah kind of touched on this. Before I took over the club back in 2021, sorry, wow, the years fly by. 2021, so it's June of 21. Before I took over the club was great, you know, in a lot of ways. I didn't really see a whole focus on financial independence. Okay, and that was my why. I wanted to be financially free because 6 years ago when I was a recruiter and I was miserable and, you know, I went home every night and just hung out with my dogs, drank too much, and, you know, did nothing to better myself. I found out that I wanted to make another go at financial independence. Okay, so, and I stumbled across this video of these people. You can check them out on YouTube. It's called SV Delos. That's that ship right there. That's that boat right there. That's sailing vessel Delos, and it's these two brothers and their girlfriends at the time that they just basically, one of them worked a software job, worked his ass off, bought a boat, asked his brother if he wanted to come, and they literally just like worked their way through the Caribbean and Indonesia and Australia and everything like that. And I thought that was awesome. I thought it was like this lifestyle that I really, really wanted. I really wanted to travel. And I used to talk about it quite a bit. That was my original motivation, was that I wanted to get a boat and go sail the world. That was my why. That why has slightly changed a little bit over the years, but that's okay. And I had this idea that I could do it, and through real estate. So when I originally came to the club years ago, there was obviously a lot of talk about real estate, but they never really, I felt like there wasn't a whole lot of focus on financial independence. It was just a lot of flippers, a lot of wholesalers that just were flipping and building a lot of money and making a lot of money, but that they really didn't have a plan, on what the end game was going to look like. And so when I took over, I really wanted to focus on that. And like Farrah said, that's why you see FIRE, financial independence through real estate, and literally everything. The FIRE crews, the FIRE chat, the FIRE focus groups. We're making it, and somebody said, I was talking to somebody on the other side of the country that also runs a RIA, and they're like, well, isn't that kind of the point of all RIAs? I was like, yeah, kind of, but I don't feel like a lot of them put it up there enough and make that that's the goal. Okay. So we're not just here to flip. We're not just here to run rentals. We want to make you, financially independent. So that was my why. Who feels comfortable sharing their way? Jeff, want to tell us why do you want to be financially independent?
Get out of the 9 to 5 and have more time for my family, basically.
So get out of the 9 to 5 and have more time for your family. Okay. Okay. Anybody else want to share? Yeah.
Don't want my kids to worry about where they get money from.
You don't want your kids to worry about where they get money from. That's a good one. That's a good one. Somebody in the back. Yes, sir, Austin. To make as much money as you can while you have the energy. But why? What are you going to, let's say you get $1 million tomorrow. What are you going to do with it?
So that would be a
A breakdown for another time? You got somewhere to be? You're going to break it down on November 18th and 19th? We're going to go there. Yeah, so your why is a little bit more than just money. You know, it has to be something that is going to, because money is not everything. You know, yes, it enables a lifestyle. It enables, you know, a lot of things. It enables freedom of time. You know, but it's not just about the money. You know, for me, aside from wanting a boat, I grew up in Southern California. Who grew up here? How's the traffic? Okay. How's the lines? They've been a little better since COVID, but that was one nice thing about COVID. There wasn't a lot of lines anywhere. What?
How's the weather?
The weather's fantastic. That's why I moved back here from Phoenix. Okay. But the only way I was moving back here from Phoenix is if I didn't have to commute. If I had to commute, there was no way. But I like going to do stuff so part of my why is like I like to go do stuff when the rest of the world is at work. I don't like being in traffic. I don't like standing in lines. I want to go to the movies and walk in. I want to go to my favorite restaurant and sit down. I don't want to stand outside for 45 minutes and listen to people talk about whatever people talk about. Okay? I don't even know anymore. I was thinking of some like dated pop culture reference to drop, but I don't have one. So, all right. So, and then what's in a number? Okay. So like part of this class is we're going to go over your why, and really dial it in beyond the money. And I'm not meaning to call you out, Austin. I'm glad that you were honest about that because it's important to know what the next step is and what's going to keep you motivated. Okay. And if money's your motivation, cool. But we're going to dial in a little bit more. And why $1 million, Austin? Did you say $1 million or did I say $1 million? Okay. How much money do you want to make? 12 million? Okay. Infinity? That was a good one. I like that one. 8 rotated by 45 degrees. Wow. Is that which theorem is that? Is that one? Calm down, Pythagoras. All right. So I'd like to call it the FIRE number. I did not come up with that. So where I did get FIRE from is there's a movement out there. You guys have probably heard of it. It's financial independence, retire early. Okay. I just kind of co-opted the retire early part and made it real estate. Okay. But they talk about your FIRE number, and usually the way people do it on that spectrum of things that people aren't interested in real estate, it's a lot of high income people that make $200,000-$300,000 a year. They live on like 60 of it, and then they just save it all away for 10, 15 years, put it all in the stock market, then they live off the dividends. It's kind of the long and the short version of how they do that. Okay, in real estate, I really believe that through real estate, you could do it a lot faster than that. Okay, that you don't have to do it. You don't have to spend 20 years doing it. You could do it in less than 5 if you really put your mind to it and really like dial in on this number. So the number is like, what do you need to live? Like after all your bills are paid, what do you need as cash flow coming in to do it? Anybody have an idea what their number is, Marta? 6,500. That's good. That's good. Okay, cool. Anybody else? 10,000. You drive a Bentley? No? Lambo? You want to drive a Lambo? Yeah. All right, me too. Your kids are going to have Lambos. Okay, cool. I get it. Anybody else? 8,000 together? Okay, so 8,000 for 2 people. Okay. Caitlin? 10,000? Yeah, we're going to have Lambos. Cool. Farrah?
Mine's at 17,000, but I'm including everything, vacations to
Gold-plated Lambos.
education.
Okay. Okay, so education, 17,000, education, everything, travel.
Mastermind, seminars, everything. That's everything.
Okay. Okay.
Insurance, yeah, everything.
I thought we were just doing the monthly, whatever it is, to survive that we need.
So your FIRE number, you can look at it 2 ways. Okay. You could the number that I usually stick to is like how I want to live. So kind of where Farrah is going. 30. All right, we're talking Learjets now. Okay. Everyone wants to live a high life? What kind of question is that? Okay, so the question is, the reason for that question is it really, like, your why is going to determine that number, okay? My number, when I wanted to go on that boat, was only $5,000, okay? $5,000. I knew that if I could have all my bills paid, everything was paid, and I had 5 G's coming in every single month that I did not have to spend, 40 hours a week working for at 9 to 5, that I could travel the world, I could pay for whatever food I wanted to do, whatever entertainment I wanted to stop at along the way, and that was actually room for either to bring someone with me or meet somebody out there, whatever it was. So I had that all built in, that if I could get $5,000, I could go live anywhere in the world with a partner that I wanted to, okay? And that number guided me for a long time, okay? So that number decided my savings. It decided what kind of property I bought. It decided what the type of investments I made, whether I got a new car, whether I didn't get a new car. I drove a 10-year-old Camry through most of this. At some point, I decided to buy a Jeep, and it's not the Lambo, but it feels like just as expensive as one. But at a certain point, like it really, I knew buying the club was going to set me back at least a couple years, with the plans that I had for the place. And, even that I set up, basically a 2-year destination, from where I started with it. And, that number, it's not, I know we can throw out a number and be like, yeah, I want 10 grand, but do you? Do you actually want 10 grand? Because it's going to take you a certain amount of houses and a certain amount of sacrifice and a certain amount of time and a certain amount of whatever to get to that 10 grand. Maybe you really be happy with 6. Because having 10 grand after all your bills are paid and having $10,000 left over every single month, that's a lot of money. You can do a lot with that. Yeah.
You have to have money to give it to help other people.
That could be part of your why.
That's why.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. She said, maybe you want to help other people. Charity, teach, whatever, start a foundation, whatever that is, that's all part of it. So, but again, that all goes back to that. So this class that we're going to be talking about, and I'll get to that in a second. Sorry. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about is getting back to that why. Okay, we're going to take a step back and go before the real estate, before you start being a flipper, before you start being a wholesaler, or maybe you are already and you want to pivot or keep going, you decide what else you need. But take a step back and think about that stuff and what you really want. You want $10,000 a month, Marta, or maybe you'd be happy with 6 and you get to spend more time with your loved ones. You don't have to work, you don't have to go that extra 4. And then part of this is, so I built this thing I call it the fire dashboard. There's a fire again. And I built this I've been working on this thing for, 3 years now, and I tweak it probably more than I should. But I look at it routinely. I'm always messing with the numbers. But I built this, it's in Excel, but you can see there. So it's got my expenses by property, and I haven't done this yet. I did it for this spreadsheet because I didn't want to give you all my addresses. But I don't know who told me this. It was somebody else we saw on the RIA circuit a long time ago, and he names his houses. So he has was it Cantu? Was it Cantu? Okay, so Mike Cantu names his houses. All right, so if he wants to travel, he calls it one the travel house, the sushi house, the Lambo house. I don't think Mike Cantu has a Lambo, but I'm gonna have a Lambo house. Kid number 1 house, and kind of like a manifesting thing. So me and Caitlin have been talking about. I actually bought the thing. I haven't done this yet, but I bought a key rack for all the keys, and it has a little things on. Not the one that closes, but it's a nice one that has all the labels. And we're gonna do this. We're gonna name all the houses and and then actually write it in to the ones that are empty. And no, that was just for the demo. She was asking if I was writing kid number 1 because my mom wants more grandchildren, but no, not right now. I'm gonna have boat number 1, boat number 2. So I put this dashboard together, and it gives you an idea of like cash flow per property, total expenses per property, and then that big one up there, your fire number, the fire meter. So that thing will change as you add in cash flow. There's also going to be a spot in here for notes. You set up all your budgets in here, non-mortgage debt, and then it'll give you your passive income and your net expenses, your total expenses per property, which puts out your net cash flow. Okay. It also has in here your W-2 income and your passive income, because that's all part of the equation. Okay. Because the idea is that you're going to get more passive income, and slowly it's going to outdo your W-2 income, okay? So you want to see that happening. And then this number right here, this big bold number in the middle, once that number turns positive, you're out of the rat race, okay? So, Caitlin says that's worth 200 alone. She's not wrong. So I've been working on that a little while. I also have some other stuff to go with it that I didn't put in the slide, is how I evaluate properties, rental properties, to see like what the long-term, like 30-year return is on it, with the depreciation, with the interest pay down, with what your tenants, your taxes, all that stuff, which I'll include also. And then it's something we use to evaluate our flips, and really like put out your cash on cash number and all that, because we do it a little differently than some people. So I wanted to share that with you guys. So that, if you want to learn more about your why, give me one second. If you want to learn more about your why and really dive into that so that you know where you're going and you can come up with a fire number that makes sense and why, and you really want to establish your goals. And like I said, I really do believe that if you want to be financially independent through real estate, you can do it in like 2 to 5 years, depending on what that fire number is. And if yeah, even in this market. And even in this market. And this market actually has, I'm glad you brought that up, because this market, when the market's booming, it gets really hard to invest. You know what's really hard? I've had more properties thrown at me in the last 6 months than I did in the last year or two before that. Because when the market's booming, you can get rid of stuff fast. But when it's down, like, have you heard the buy low, sell high? Okay. Most people, by the time that you hear about it in the gas station attendants telling you to buy a house, by the time that happens, it's too high. So that was part of if you saw the marketing for the tri-building event a couple weeks ago, it was like, you really want to start building your network now for the downturn, because that's like, now we all have the opportunity to really get after it. It's been hard the last few years. It was really hard when the market was screaming to find deals. Okay, and those of us that had marketing that had been out there for years, we were able to weather it a little bit. But now, like, the deals are going to come. So you want to be prepared. You want to know why you're doing it, and you want to have the numbers set to what what you want to accomplish. And the why also has to do with what makes you happy. Like, if you want to kick back and just collect a check, but you got money, you could be a note investor. You can invest in real estate through notes. If you don't have a big nest egg saved up and you got to hustle a little bit more, maybe you want to do it faster, and you can go the Airbnb route and scale up a little bit faster. But maybe you don't want to be that busy, or you don't want to deal with multiple tenants every single week. That's a different path. So it's really, really important that you figure this out beforehand so you know where you're going, and that's what this workshop's for. So, and it comes with this dashboard. It's going to come with the manual with a little bit more material in it, and it's going to include lunch both days. So if you guys are interested in taking that class, you can scan that code, or you can go right to the website, iereic.org. It's right on the front page, and today is the last day for early bird pricing. So right now, if you're a member, it's $197 tonight is the last night that it's $197. If you're not a member, it's a little bit more. But you can become a member $35 a month. So if you want to take that thing, the code is TRIBE when you're checking out. And we'll see you in a few weeks. All right?